this is something that is relatable to a lot of us from the other channel as well. So, um, what has happened to the American people, public in general? Okay. A lot of us have W-2s, right? We work at a company, we collect a paycheck, we may have benefits, we may have 401ks, but due to inflation, those W-2 jobs are not the same as they used to be 20 years ago. And due to inflation, they're getting chewed up, those paychecks. We're not making enough money. So we need side hustles. Well, that's why we all do what we do on the other channel, right? We create a side hustle. We need to make more money because we have gaps in our budgets. Okay. And the number of people working multiple jobs in the US hit 8.66 million in September, a new record. Why? That's because inflation is absolutely hammering the American public, hammering it. I am not buying anything the government is saying. Gaslighting to the max. Oh, everything is fine. Unemployment is fine. GDP is fine. Oh, inflation is great. Oh, actually, I'm going to talk about the ugly S word coming up. And it's not the 4-letter S word. It's something else, which maybe you guys will also have homework on that one. So look at that graph on the right side, again, from the Kobesi letter. The big drop that it took was during the pandemic, because obviously, but look at it now. It's making a new all-time high. So when that's happening, when people are doing 2, 3 jobs, that means their primary job is not paying them enough to cover the bills. Why is that? Rents have gone up, insurances have gone up, food has gone up, everything has gone up 40, 50, 80%, while the government says, inflation is only 2%. Like, who are you guys kidding, man? Right? So understand why this is happening. Macroeconomic conditions are bad for the average American. That's why they're going and getting 2, 3 extra jobs, well, 2 extra jobs, or maybe 1 extra jobs, or they're getting into gig work, right? Every weekend, people are delivering, people are driving. That's when gig work actually comes into play. And then that's when a lot of you, when you complain that you're not making money, what would happen if there was no gig work? Imagine that. Barriers to entry is super easy. You don't have to go get an interview. Even for a part-time job, you have to go for Target or Walmart or McDonald's or wherever, starter, low end. You need to go get an interview. You need to do this. No, what do you do with gig work? You just download the app, upload your documents. You're making a couple $100 a weekend. Well, that's why people do gig work. And that's what the beauty of gig work is, which I think is only side hustle at these days. It's definitely not a career. So furthermore, the number of part-time jobs has jumped by 3 million over the past 3 years to near record 28.2 million. Concerningly, full-time employment has declined by 1 million since November 2023. Well, what do you guys think is going to happen if we go in a recession in 2025 or a slowdown? Layoffs are coming. More people are going to go into gig work. More people are going to go into part-time work because they have to pay bills. Besides paying bills, maybe they're not going to pay those credit cards that I talked about last segment. They got to eat. They got to put a roof on their head. They got to pay rent, the basic necessities, right? And multiple job holders have been rapidly rising over the last few years as Americans are fighting record high prices, meaning inflation. For millions of Americans, the solution to years of inflation is taking on another job. And if that's not enough, another job. The reality is that even though inflation rate is falling, hocus pocus, not happening. CPI and PPI came out this week. Both were higher than expected. While the Fed is cutting the rates, we're going to talk about that in the next couple of segments. Things are not getting cheaper. They're not. They raise the insurance costs, rents. Are they going down because inflation is going down? Because Washington or the Fed says, oh, inflation is 2%. Don't worry about it. Really? I mean, your rent went from $1,500 to $1,800. Do you think your landlord is going to lower the rent back to $1,500 because Fed says inflation is going down? No, you got to go make an extra $300. Well, your W-2 is not paying for that, right? Maybe you got a raise at your W-2, but I bet you didn't get a raise at 6, 8, 10% every year after year after year, because that's what inflation is: 6, 7, 8% year after year after year. How many of us are making 6, 7, 8% more than last year and the year before and the year before. No, not true. So, and this is what's happening. And chime in. I mean, do you guys feeling this already? Do you feel like you need to hustle more to make ends meet? And that's what's happening in the US at the moment. And if we go in a recession, we'll find out. We'll find out how many more jobs people have to take on. And with the gig work, right? And a lot of you talked to me on the other channel about oversaturation and this and that. This is the reason right here. It's a tailwind for those companies because now they have so many workers that are coming into gig work to make ends meet. But the pie is the same size. The mouse that needs to feed off that pie is the same, but the mouths are exponentially higher. Well, that's why everybody's sliver of the pie is getting thinner and thinner, and that's why you all are making less and less money. So yeah, that's where we are, unfortunately.